Coming up next on Get Caught in a Net.
Get caught in a net with MNS. For your mind, body, and soul. Get caught in a net with MNS. It's your intellectual radio show. Here to inspire you and encourage you to be your very best. Get caught in a net with MNS.
You are now tuned in to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette, where your host, Annette Harris, analyze intriguing life questions and concerns, such as, do Christians suffer from mental illness? Have you wondered why they act abnormal? Or you may ask, what is really going on in their minds? Do you need Annette? Well, keep listening for a biblical understanding of the psychology of the mind.
Hey guys, welcome to another wonderful segment of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. I'm your girl, your host, Annette Harris. I am also your certified mental health ambassador and author of that award-winning bestseller, Surviving a Silenced Heartbeat. Listen, if you haven't gotten your book, you need to get on over to Amazon or to my website. You do not want to miss out. But we're excited because we are glad to be here on this afternoon. Before we get started, Lord, we thank you for all things. We thank you for blessing us and helping us and encouraging us. We thank you for all that you're doing amongst us, around us, with us, and through us. And we pray that you would get the glory in the name of Jesus out of this session and everything we go to say and do. And the first part of Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. And again, we are grateful to be here. I always say, if you see my face around 12 noon on Wednesday, Central Standard Time, that is, it's time for you to come on in and get caught in the net. I know we've been off for a couple of weeks. We've been doing some things behind the scenes and that have our attention has been needed there. But we have great guests, of course, that we are going to highlight, of course, today and then next week in the month of August. And as the year continues on, we want you to continue to stick with us. We are grateful for this platform that God has given us to be able to highlight individuals, whether it's their projects or books they've written. We love to highlight individuals, and of course, love to bring in that aspect of that spiritual and that psychological point of view. Lord knows we need it. We need to sometimes to just talk about it. I'm going to bring in our guest. You all know that every fourth Wednesday, we need to highlight Dr. Shirley Hill of Mill Faith Nutritional Services. She is a wonderful woman of God who we have collaborated with her and her organization to talk to you about your health. That is so important. And we're still able to bring in the spiritual and psychological aspects of that as well. So I am going to bring her in and we can get started on today. I do ask each of you that once you come in, if you would not mind going ahead and clicking the share button, the likes, the thumbs up, the heart button, if you wouldn't mind. We are live on Facebook, Annette Get Caught in the Net. I've shared it to various groups there. We're also live on Instagram at Get Caught in the Net and YouTube, Get Caught in the Net. So you can't miss us. If one of your avenues go down, go on to the other one so you won't miss anything. And then, of course, those who are able to come back and listen to this in its entirety after the show is over, then you are more than welcome to do that. I always tell you, throw any questions, comments that you have for Dr. Hill on today while she's here. Dr. Hill, how are you doing on this afternoon?
I am doing well, thank you. I'm doing well. And how are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. I know we
Mhm.
chatted a little bit before, just talked about
Mhm.
how things are so busy and going on around us, but it's a blessing to still be here, to even experience some things. And so we're grateful to God for that. You guys I see these names here that pop up on Instagram. I thank you for joining us. I don't want to miss I don't want to say your name wrong. I see a Smith, I see a Jack, is it or Jacket? I don't know. Sometimes when you have the different names on Instagram, it's not necessarily their name. It's maybe something about them. But thank you for joining us. Go ahead, guys. You can tag individuals into this live feed if you would not mind doing that for me, for us, so that we can get this out. And we always love and appreciate Janice Pritchard. She's already liked and shared, and we appreciate you for that. So Dr. Hill, you gave me this long you gave me this long topic title for today, and I just said, "Oh, okay."
Well, you're supposed to read between the lines. And I almost put it in there. Just tweak this any kind of way you want to. So,
I didn't do no tweaking or no reading between the lines. I just saw a long topic title. Let me go back up to it because Dr. Hill, she cracks me up. I think sometimes you do that on purpose. Give me long titles. So it says here, life and death is in the power of the tongue. She goes on to say, is the disease in your body connected to what's on your plate? Another question for you. Are your recipes contributing to someone's demise? Oh, yeah, I gave a reaction of wow to it. That's what I did. But life and death is in the power of the tongue, and that's kind of what I kind of went with that first part of that.
yeah.
Um, and there, of course, there's a scripture that backs that up as well. But then you are starting talking about diseases and its connection to our diet, and then what we prepare, our recipes. We have to be careful when preparing for ourselves and, of course, for others as well, that we're not contributing to disease, in any respect. So, how did you come up with all of this? How are we bringing all of this in together? We'll start there first.
Well, and I might have said this last month, but watching the internet and seeing all of the recipes, I think I did say it, and
Yes.
seeing all of the recipes that are popping up daily, there are just so much. And like you said, they've caught my algorithm now. The algorithm has caught my whatever. And I
Mhm.
am telling you, I am getting recipes on top of recipes on top of recipes. But I'm
Mm-mm-mm.
glad because the classes, we're returning to the classes in at the end of August, sometimes after my birthday, sometime after my birthday. And
Right.
uh, and so I said, well, these are good. I can use these for the classes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what turned my mind this way. And then the Lord reminded me of something He gave me more about 30 or more years ago when one of my children, I'm not going to say which one, she was 12. And of course, that was almost 40 years ago.
I know who it is, but never mind. No, no, I'm just kidding.
I will not tell. I will not tell. But I remember back then I was very, because the children were smaller, and I was very much involved with the youth. And so, of course, you knew the children, they sang, because this generation of singers are grandchildren.
Yeah,
So their parents that were singing back then.
right.
And we would travel, and then I would minister on health and wellness. They would sing and do little skits and whatever. And God gave me something. And it was, there was a pastor who worked from home.
Hmm.
There was he had a little wife and they had a little son. And the little wife was always exhausted. I mean, she was always exhausted with taking care of the child, taking care of the husband, taking care of his books, um, preparing his appointments with the saints, just all of that. And so one day she drug herself up and
Mm.
went to the door because the doorbell had rung. She went to the doorbell, and of course she had to prepare meals. She had to prepare the child's lunch and all of that, and whatever, when he had guests over for whatever they would be doing in ministry, she had to prepare meals for them and so forth and so on. And so she was always complaining to God, I need help. I need help. And one day she went to the door, and there was a box outside her door. And the box it had all kind of prepared food in it.
Wow.
And that's what she said. And she said, "Oh God, I thank you. I thank you so much." She brought it in. She, prepared their lunch out of that box. And then that evening, she prepared their dinner. And she was very, very, she felt more rested, and she had a little time for herself, and so forth and so on. And so then that became a ritual. The
Mm.
door, the doorbell would ring. She would go to the door. There would be the box sitting there with the prepared meals. She would bring them in and prepare them for her little family and their guests. At one point and one time, the child got sick. He became ill. And so she, of course, that added another depth to what was going on, because now she had to run him back and forth to the doctor. Of
Oh,
course, it took them forever to find out what was wrong. And then when they found out what was wrong, then they had to set the treatment and all of this. And of course, there were different drugs and treatments and all of this. But the little kid, he finally died.
mm.
And so, but yet the doorbell would ring. She would go to the door. She would bring the box in, and she was so thankful. She was so thankful because now, um, with all that was going on with the preparation for the child, all of that going on, uh, she was so thankful for that box of prepared food that came to that door
Wow.
daily. And so after a while, the husband became ill. He had the same condition as the son. And so, of course, the doctors did what they can do and so forth and so on. And the saints prayed and so forth and so on. And so now that she's taking the husband back and forth to the doctor and all of these things are going on, she is really thankful for this box of prepared meals that comes to that door every
Yeah.
day. And so, to no avail, the husband, he also passed. And then she found herself also sick. And so she knew in her heart that she was going to pass also. And she told God this. She said, if you would only let me see this person who brought all of these years, brought these meals to the house that made my life simpler and made my life more um, bearable and so forth and so on. She said, I would be greatly appreciative. And so she would sit by the door because she figured that she could catch the person when they brought the box of prepared meals. And one day she saw him as he was just going down the stairs, and she threw the door open and she yelled for him to wait, told him I just wanted to thank you for all of the years that you have been so kind and that you have taken out your time to do this, that, and the other, so forth. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And she just kept talking about this food and kept talking about this food. And he stood and there staring at her. And he started laughing. And he said, because, she said, over the years, my son, he died. He got sick and died. And then my husband, he got sick and died. And now I am also sick and dying. And the gentleman looked at her and started laughing. And he said, I never bought you any food. He said, there was never any food in those prepared packages. He said there was nothing edible in there and nothing that should have been ingested into your body. And he looked at her, and of course she looked shocked and just totally confused. And he looked at her and he nodded his head and he started laughing hysterically as he walked away. And then, of course, she died. And so, and then I would ask those that were participating, what did you think about this? What are your thoughts, your concerns, and this, that, and the other? And God brought this back. Now, I said it was it was over 30, almost 40 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
God brought that back he brought it back to my attention a couple of times when Marcus sent me food from one of the stores. You know how what are they called? Something Eats or somebody.
Uber Eats.
Yeah, so they drive up to your door and they give you whatever this is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I brought it in the house and I looked and I had a head of cabbage that was it just when I turned it over, I could not believe I got the pictures. I have the pictures. I think I'm going to put it on my page on Facebook.
Okay.
And several times when something, and it was reputable store all over the nation, so forth and so on. And we're talking about raw foods here. But they were also, well, not box bottles and cans, but they also, sell boxes, bottles and cans. And as I brought it in and I looked at it, I called Brandy and I said, Brandy, do you remember that? And I repeated the story. She said, yeah, I remember when you used to tell that story. And
Mm-hmm.
I told her about what had come to the house, what I had gotten. And then I thought about the meals on, I don't want to say the whole term,
Right. Right. Right.
but
Right. I know.
but the foods that they bring to the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And I know on several occasions I've had to stop them from just stop it from people that I have been caring for.
Okay.
Because if they had diabetes, this was definitely a death sentence for them, and all kind of conditions like that. But they come in these little prepared meals. And I said, okay, God, you brought this back to my remembrance for a purpose. And so we, Lord, our meals, our meals, when we never think about, is this a meal that will heal or kill someone? That never crosses our mind. And we never think about, this may be someone at my table that has 5 different conditions, not just diabetes, but they have diabetes and they have heart insufficiency and they have kidney failure and they have nerve neuropathy and they have all of these things going on in their bodies that we know nothing about.
Mm.
And they sit down to our table to eat our meals. Now, you had a question there or anything you want to say?
This is deep. You had me at that story. I'm telling you because hmm, I as you were talking, you're telling the story. I was like, well, who would bring it? But of course, I knew that that wasn't the what I should have been focused on with that story. It doesn't matter necessarily, and you're bringing that out even with the questions that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, are your recipes contributing to someone's demise? Now that story you told, that was like that was extra. That was really, really deep. To get this point across, to understand that
Mm-hmm.
we have to be careful with what we not only serve ourselves, but what we serve others, whether it is you're entertaining or the holidays or what have you. It's just so much to be conscious and aware of. And it almost made me think, I'll say this and I'll let you continue. It almost made
Mm-hmm.
me think of um, the bereavement committee that we have at church. I work, of course, in conjunction with the other um, areas of our church, one of being hospitality. So if
Mm-hmm.
the family requests a
Yeah.
repast to be held at our church after the funeral, then our hospitality would need to, of course, get involved. So they would normally ask me, the hospitality committee, do they have any dietary restrictions? And, so they'll make sure that they are feeding the family in the way that they need to be because they don't want to contribute to anything, right?
Right.
And so that made me think of that, but that's almost like you need to do that anyway,
Yeah.
whether you're part of a hospitality committee or, like I said, entertaining, at your own home, because you don't know
Yeah.
what you're contributing to. That's really, really deep, and it's really making me think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought up the hospitality committee because probably over the years I've probably brought up this incident, but a lot of the people here, they've never heard it before. So um I was in North Carolina with the little girl that had the liver cancer,
Right.
remember? And so their church, it had, I think it seated about 3,000 people, and once a month they would have a family and friends day.
Mm,
And so they had their members, and they would have maybe 1,000 visitors, family members and visitors. And
okay.
so all of their cooks, you know how church women are, I can burn, I can bring it, so they had all of those women in the kitchen.
Right, right.
uh, and they fixed a wonderful meal. They really
Mhm.
did. And but the first lady, because this was a young man and a young woman. I think they were probably in their 30s, maybe. I would be stretching it to say they might have been in their 40s.
Okay.
I noticed that that she couldn't turn her neck. She could not, if she looked at something or someone, she had to turn her entire body.
Ooh.
And so I sat next to her and I said, what happened? I said, why do you have this condition? She said, I started passing out. She said, whenever I turned my head, she said, no matter where I was or whatever I was doing, she said I would pass out. And the doctors could not find a solution.
Mm.
So she said, eventually, what they did was they put pins or something in her neck, or they froze. They did something so that she would not be able to ever again turn her neck. And so, I'm sitting there, I'm astonished and I'm flabbergasted. And I said, see, that's what comes from treating symptoms and not finding out the cause and eliminating the cause. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so this day we had this conversation. I went in. I I always remember. I got a tablespoon of sweet potato. I love sweet potato pong or whatever you call it. I got me a tablespoon of that. I got a tablespoon of I think it was string beans maybe, and then a tablespoon of something else. And that's all I had.
Mm.
And I ate that. We lived maybe ten minutes away from the church. Um, I when I got home, now mind you, I'm taking care of the little 5-year old, right? And then there's an older young lady who was a teenager. I went in the house and sat at the kitchen table, and I had such a severe headache until they call, migraine. I think it was worse than a migraine, although I don't, I'm just guessing. But
Wow.
I do know this, by the time I got up from the kitchen and walked, I maybe walked 5 steps to the stairs, and then there were 3 or 4 stairs to go up to where my bedroom was. I could not see. I was feeling the wall as I went up the stairs. When I went into the bedroom, I said, well, maybe if I lay down and take a nap, I'll feel better when I wake up. When
Mhm.
I put my head, when I went to put my head on the pillow, my head hurt me so bad until I could I couldn't even lay down. Now I couldn't lay now not only was I blind and couldn't see, but I couldn't even lay down. My head was hurting so bad. So I got up and I felt my way back down the wall, down the stairs. And I told the teenager, I said, I need you to make me a juice. And I told her, I said, I need a gala apple, red apple, green apple, yellow apple. I need a celery stalk stick, rib. I need a celery rib. I need a cucumber. I need a piece of beet. I
Mhm.
need and I told her all that I needed her to fix me. She did exactly as I stated. I drank it, and then I went to go back upstairs. By the time I got back upstairs, I could lay my head on the pillow.
Mm.
And by the time I took a nap, which was maybe 30, somewhere around 30, between 30 and 45 minutes, when I woke up, the headache was gone.
Wow.
And I knew it was the food that I was eating.
Mm.
And I have no doubt that the first lady, that the reason she had to have this surgery was because of the meals that these ladies were preparing. Now,
Mm.
how could I say that? We use these shakers, right?
Mhm.
When we cook. Everybody's stuff has got to taste better than somebody else's stuff. Man, it's got to be the best. And so we mix these concoctions, right? Well, one of those concoctions is MSG,
Mhm.
monosodium glutamate, which is in all of those little shakers, except for maybe onion powder and garlic powder. And I may be wrong, but usually because it's not red. All right. how did I realize that the woman was, her problem was MSG? Years later, Brandy stayed at home in the
Mhm.
house, unable to go anywhere, because when she went out, she would turn her head and pass out. Wherever she was, if she was driving the car, if she was on the bus, whatever and wherever, she turned her head, she would pass out.
Mm.
And the doctors could not find out what was wrong with her. And I kept saying, and I had been saying for years, you need to get all of that stuff out of your cabin. I would say that stuff is toxic, is poisonous, is this, that, oh, mama, you know how we do. And so and she tells this testimony herself. She tells it herself.
Yep.
And so they were sending her to therapy. That's the only place she was going outside of the house for several years. And so then she got a new therapist. And one day, and she said that one day, I think it was a young man, he passed by her and just sprayed something. So I don't know if she was exercising or whatever they had her doing, but he had a little spray thing and he passed by her and just sprayed something in front of her. And she said before she could say anything, she went out
Oh.
and she hit the floor. When she came to, he said, she is um, having a reaction from monosodium glutamate, MSG. And it's in almost everything that we eat, and it's in all of the seasonings that we use. And we can't go to a restaurant without it being on the table, and all such things. And that's when I realized that that little woman, what I think they either froze the bone, took a bone out, and put a rod in, something crazy.
Wow.
And she would be like that for the rest of her life, when the problem was all of this, all of this MSG that was being stirred up in that kitchen, and that she was eating on these particular days.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm tell one more story. Just one more story. This recent one. Is that okay?
Yeah,
How am I for time?
you're
Okay.
good.
Um, I was working with a young lady that had breast cancer. And so she responded very well to her diet. And then the doctors, they deemed her being in remission. To celebrate, she went to Mexico. I told her not to go. I said, don't go. I said, please, don't go. And the girlfriend was, well, we've already paid for these trips and we're going to go on this, that, and the other. So they went. And so then they came back. I get this call one day and she is screaming to the top of her lungs. I didn't know who it was because she was screaming to the top of her lungs. She was in the hospital. She had just gotten her labs, and they told her that the cancer had come back and it had metastasized to her brain. And so now she has brain cancer.
Mm, mm, mm.
And so she's on the phone with me and she's screaming and she's panicking. And I told her, calm down. I finally got her calm down. I said, I will be there tomorrow. Now we're having this this conversation. She understood me very well. I understood her very well. I went to the hospital the next day. By the time I got there, she was incoherent. They could not understand. When they asked her questions, she could not understand. She could not pull up the answers. She could not. Um, her mind was just not. It was not it was not recognizing the words that was coming out of their mouths. So therefore, she couldn't give them the correct answers and all of this. And hospice was on their way to the hospital. And they were, so I just sat in a corner. I just took me a seat and sat in the corner. And I watched the comings in and goings. And they kept giving her this drink. What are those? Ensure?
Right. Mm-hmm.
They kept giving her Ensure. And I took the container and I read the ingredients. First one, sugar.
Sugar.
First one, sugar. And so when the young lady came back in, I said, I'm going to put these in the trash. I said, please ask the dietitian and the nurse not to bring any more of these. I said, the reason she has declined from yesterday to today is the sugar, the first ingredient in this product. And I told her son, I said, look, if you let her come home, I promise I will come and I will care for her. I'll come every day before you go to work and I'll stay until you come home.
Mm.
And so I did that. And I prepared all of her meals, and which were raw. Everything was raw. And all of her drinks, which was mostly water, and unless it was juices. So she got juices, she got smoothies, and she got salads. And then I would just rework them so that they were, palatable, and they were not boring. And so in I want to say 2 months, she was back to herself. She was up. She was up, and Christmas had come. And so she was up. She was up out trying to go outside and hang Christmas lights and stuff. So she and I were fighting, right?
Right.
Her family would come in from out of town, and they would give me a little break and all of that kind of thing. And she had gotten back to the place where you would not even know she was having this difficulty, because her body was going through that autophagy phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was just doing what it. She was so energetic, and she was so this, that, and the other. Doctors were amazed, blah, blah, blah. I get a call because like I said, it was around Christmas, and they had told me, we're going to give you a break. Don't you come over here not one day until we get ready to leave. You need a break, this, that, and the other. And I get this call, and they said she dropped dead in the kitchen. And I was like, in the kitchen?
That. Wow.
And I told her brother, I said, what was she doing in the kitchen? I said, all of you grown folks are there. I said, why was she in the kitchen? He said she wanted to prepare breakfast for all of the guests and everything that was there. I said, I wish I knew what it was that she ate while she was in that kitchen. He said this. He said, I know what she ate. He said she was frying bacon. He said, and so he said, and she took one and she ate it. And when she ate it, she fell dead to the floor. And, and the reason that she ended up back in the hospital in the state that she was, her girlfriend that had gone with her to Mexico said she ate everything that would fit in her mouth. She said everything that would fit in her mouth, she ate it. And so I don't know what we think food is. I don't understand what it is that we think food is.
Yeah.
And because we don't understand what food is and what it is for, and what food is not, because most of the stuff that we are eating and preparing for our loved ones and friends and so forth and so on, it is not food. They are toxic chemicals. And I have a loved one that has been for years. Matter of fact, she's gotten quite wealthy on preparing preparing fast food, I guess, with your foods for parties and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I told her years ago, I said, you are doing your clients a disservice.
Yeah.
I said, I said, you're going to cause them, a lot of your clients, to lose their life.
Mm.
And so we don't even understand. We have these conditions, we have these pains, we cannot breathe, we cannot think, we cannot sleep. We have no energy. Our kidneys are failing, our livers are failing, our heart is failing. Um, our seniors their minds is failing. And and what we do is we, throw medication at the condition, and the medications have side effects. And those side effects, we don't even know how many side effects, if we ever really looked at, not at the bag, but
Right.
if we ever did the research on how many side effects, we would realize that not only have we caused the condition, but the side effects, but there's 15, 16 side effects, and 7 of those medications are because of the side effects and not because of the original condition.
Mm-hmm.
And so we, as women, as keepers of the house, and I know we got a controversy about that and whatever, but see, I will say this. And originally, God assigned the man to outside the home. He assigned him to till the soil. He assigned him to do that kind of work that brings in whatever, because he said, man, if you don't work, you will not eat.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the woman, we don't like the idea, but the fact of the matter is that God gave us a very covenant position. When he gave us a uterus, he gave us a very covenant position. And that uterus, which carries, or womb, which carries the egg and the sperm that have come together, that uterus in itself, for the first 11 weeks of that inception, that that uterus makes a uterine milk. It makes some milk that is specific for that baby. And so then, as we are, our body is the hiding place. It is the nurturing place. It is the growing place for the species on this planet. Our womb is the door that every human being has to come through to become a part of your species, our species, and your family on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
That is a covenant position. The Jesus Christ had to come through a uterus. He himself had to come through a womb.
That's right.
And, and the woman was given that covenant position. And we have abrogated that position for fast food. We've advocated it for fast food. We've advocated it for boxed, bottled, and canned food that has no nutritional value, that has nothing in it. It can sit on a shelf, it can sit in a pantry, it can sit in the store
Mm-hmm.
until we come and get it.
Mm-hmm.
And even the rats won't eat it.
Mm.
See, there once was a time when you go in the store and you tried to buy bread, or you tried to buy I love them too. What are those things? Round things that's grain. Um, oh well, I can't think of the name of it. But I love them, and I ate way too many of them. But the rats and the mice loved them too. And so when I would go in, I would have to be careful because at first I would take a bag home and get ready to open it, and it would be there would be a hole in the back of the bag where a little mice had eaten all the way through. They just had a wonderful meal. And so then all of these additives and preservatives that we think they put in there to keep us safe, those things they put in there because they took out all of the nutrients and replaced them with these additives and preservatives and colorings and um, all of those things to keep the mice, the rodents, and keep the bugs and all of those things out of them because they eat real food. We don't.
Ooh. Ooh.
And yeah, and the conditions that we have and the conditions that our poor animals have, they have the conditions because they eat what we eat. And we have the conditions because we eat what we
that's that's wild. Or like you always say, we want what we want, and we want it like that, or like we like what we like, and we like it like that.
eat. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness, this is really, really, it's really something to think about. Just,
Hmm.
and I don't know if you guys are just not joining us. We're not going to be here much longer, but if you look in the comment section, I placed, and it's on the screen as well now, the topic and questions for you to think about. I always tell you when we do have our health and wellness that you can ask questions or leave comments for Dr. Hill. But this is something on today for you to think about. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Maybe you should ask yourself these questions. Is the dis-ease in your body connected to what's on your plate? Also, are your recipes contributing to someone's demise? If you are just not joining us, you're going to have to go back and rewind and listen to all what Dr. Hill talked about, even from the beginning, the reason this topic came about, but then also that one story I think I'm still stuck on that she used to, back in the day when she was going around talking about our health and wellness, um, a particular story that she would tell that, to make us think. And yeah, that really, really, it can really grab your attention and make you think further about what you're putting in your mouth and what should go in your body. So this is something I tried to tag as many people as I could in this particular session on today. So hopefully you guys, either you're watching now or you're going to come back and watch later. But let's take this to heart. Dr. I want to say something real quick, and then I'm going to ask you, do you have anything to wrap us up with? There was something that really bothered me. I think it was last weekend. My husband and I, we were talking, and we were talking to someone else, and they were basically, asking, telling my husband he shouldn't be so hard on um, loved ones and different ones that he's telling, about eating and how they're eating. And their response, I'm trying to paraphrase it, and I'm trying not to get in trouble, but their response, they were saying, you don't need to do all that because we gonna die from something anyway. We all gonna die from something anyway. Um, that still bothers me to this day that person actually said it. Probably that they said it, not that they said it to him, but that was their mentality. That was their thought. And I know that it's not only that person. I know
Yeah,
that there are more that think like that.
yeah.
And that I think is what really, really got to me. And I'm like, you know what? That doesn't make any sense because So you say we all gonna die from something anyway, so do you just want to go and run and jump off of a cliff, or what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense.
Mm-mm,
Just
mm-mm.
because. And then, well, okay, if I talk further, then I'm saying too much. But anyway, yeah, but that that bothered me to no end, and it still does.
Yeah.
Do you want to comment on that and maybe give us some wrap up on today?
Yes, I do. That's a sentiment that has gone around in our community. I don't know if it's gone around anywhere else, but I do know that it has been a prevalent mindset in our communities for many years now. But it is scripturally unsound
Yeah.
because the Bible says it is appointed unto man to die, and after that the judgment.
Judgment.
It does not say it is appointed unto man to die with cancer, with diabetes, with a heart attack, with a stroke, with amyloid plaque causing, yeah, that stroke in the brain. It does not say any of those things. You can live. The saints in the Bible, they lived, and then when it came time for them to die, they called their children and grandchildren and whoever else was a cheering. They called them around their bed and they blessed them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went on to heaven praising the Lord. And so it was sickness, death, and disease that came in when we changed, when we disobeyed God, and it wasn't a punishment. He said, don't eat that, eat that. And when we decided that God didn't know what he was talking about and started eating that, then that every time we started eating that, our lifespan dropped by 100 and so years.
Mm.
And yeah, and so uh, our life, the quality of our life is connected to what we eat. Now, let me give you an example. This is my last thought. Let me see how, because I want to say this. Advanced glycation in product, because I think I said something about it
Month.
last month. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it clogs the small vessels. It clogs the small vessels in the body and in the brain. Because it causes amyloid plaque. It causes retinopathy and diabetes. It clogs the arteries in the heart,
Mm-hmm.
and that neuropathy, that nerves with the tingling in the feet and in
Mm-hmm.
the fingers, that's nerve damage from this particular condition. This particular condition is caused by eating sugar or enriched flour.
Yeah.
Now, those of you that are on here, I would like you to go back through your last 3 meals and see if they were not all enriched flour, if they were not all sugar, if they were not all meat combined in one meal. All of these conditions are caused by eating sugar or starch, which will turn to sugar, and amino acids and fats. So the amino acids are what the body uses to make protein. And so then it is the proteins, it is the fats eaten with the sugar that causes all of these conditions. So then our barbecue sauce, because it's summer, we put sugar in that and then we put it on top of our meat. These deep fried donuts that have fried with oils and fats and all of that, and of course that enriched flour. These fries, every time you buy fries, they taste so good because they have sugar on them.
Mm.
And then they're deep fried in this fat. And so then we love macaroni and cheese. We love spaghetti and meatballs. We love now everything I see on television, not on YouTube, they're putting it in flour. They're rolling it in flour or wheat, and then they're frying it up on the stove or putting it in the oven in high heat. And so Everything we eat is causing advanced glycation
Mm,
in stage products, which causes all of these conditions. And if you can't get out of bed in the morning without your knees being stiff and aching, then you have this condition.
hmm. That's true.
And yeah, and so we love sugar. We can't do without it. And
Right.
of course we love meat, and we put them together. And so we have got to look at food differently. It's got to be our medicine, and that we're eating, it has got to be our poison. We've got to see it as being the cause of our condition. And no, you don't have to die with anything. But if you die, you leave here, and you die because of a knife and a fork. It is appointed unto man once to die, and after that, the judgment. What are you going to be judged of? You're going to be judged for what was on the end of that knife and fork that caused you to die and end up standing before God before you completed the assignment that He gave you on this earth.
My God, my God. Whew, I felt that. I felt that. Mm. He said we must look at food differently. Is it the cause of our conditions? That's something to think about. He also said the quality of our life is connected to our diet.
Yes.
Whoo! All right, guys. Got to take this in. I don't care if you're watching me live or you're coming back and watching the replay. Please, we got to take this in. Elder McGee, my friend, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming in.
You
Uh,
love
it says greetings. He did say not the donuts
me.
and the fries.
Well, I didn't say anything about the coffee, but it does cause glycation.
Right, right, Elder McGee. Look, she got a little. Well, she meant it though, even though she didn't say it. But then he said, "Lord, help the people."
Yeah.
All right. So then he put his elder hat on when he did that. Uh, this is something. Yeah. Let me go back up to this title. I'm going to read it before we get off of here. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Is the dis-ease in your body connected to what's on your plate? Are your recipes contributing to someone's demise? All right, that is the topic, questions for you all to think about. Because I didn't see anybody put any questions in here for Dr. Hill on today. So that's something that you need to take in. We all need to take in, not just you, me as well. Need to take in on today. But Dr. Hill, thank you again for a wonderful segment, informing us, enlightening us, equipping us, because that's what you're doing, helping us, whether we realize it or not. I've seen so many, whether it's people inboxing me, texting me on social media, people asking for prayer for their health, and it's something. And I haven't, and I was telling my husband this too. I'm in the marriage club group on Facebook. I have not, I've seen, I don't know what it is lately, Dr. Hill. I've been seeing so many spouses losing their spouses.
Mhm.
And it's not um, it doesn't matter whether it's the husband or the wife. And so many seem like a whole lot lately. Various reasons, but
Mhm.
yeah,
May I interject something there,
sure.
because you said something that I did not. The Bible says that healing is the children's bread, but God does not promise to keep us well.
Mm,
That is not a promise.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
Jesus said to the young man that He healed, I often say it. He asked him, "Were you made whole?" He said, "Yes, I was," all excited. Jesus said, "Go and sin no more, lest a greater thing come upon you."
Yeah,
Now, you cannot feed the cancer and expect it to go away, expect it to, because it is, our physical body is in our physical hands. And so then, if we don't obey the word of God, and it's very clear,
Mm-hmm.
If we don't obey the word of God, then we cannot expect God to undo what he has told us not to do, because we reap what we sow. And so I'm only here to I'm not fussing. I'm only here to to give you options and the truth, because we are not awake. We are not awake. We are not in our position. And we are not watchmen on the wall as women when it comes to our families and our husbands, our spouses, and our children. We're just not there.
I echo the sentiments, Elder McGee. Lord, help the people. Help us all. All right. Something to think about, something to take in. Thank you again, Dr. Hill, for this month's health and wellness. And of course, we'll see you next month, Lord willing. And you guys stay tuned. Next week, I'm going to do something a little different. I want you to take a look at this next session with the outro on this afternoon. But you all take care of yourselves, and thank you for joining Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as well. We appreciate you, and hopefully there was something that was said on today that will stick with you and help you to make changes as needed. All right, we're going to get out of here. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take a look at the promo for next week. On the next session of Get Caught in a Net, our next guest can't speak verbally, but it speaks volumes. It's a book review. Our guest, the book Cooking with Mama Joyce, written by author Joyce A. Graham, The One-Handed Chef. Please join Annette Harris, your certified mental health ambassador, award-winning author of SASH, and host of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette on Wednesday, July 31st, 2024, 12 noon Central Standard Time. Prepare to get caught in a net to understand how the only disability in life is a bad attitude. See you soon.
Get caught in a net with Annette.